The Cartel update completely changed how we progress through the game in Schedule 1, but let's be real, it also made things confusing as hell. So I found 10 of your most asked questions regarding the update, and dug into the code to get you guys some answers. We're going to talk about things like, why does the Cartel never ambush me? Why do their dealers pop outside for 1 second at midnight? And can you use the bomb from the final quest for something different instead? I know, I'm a little bit late on this one, but with the recent patch shaking up how the Cartel's code works, now's the perfect time to break it all down. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how the Cartel really operates behind the scenes, and how to use it to your advantage. And we're going to start with the question that everyone has been asking. When is the Cartel most active? And the answer is a bit complicated, so bear with me here. Everything the Cartel does is controlled by something behind the scenes called Cartel Activities. Think of it as the game's event manager. It decides when ambushes, dealer attacks, and dead drop robberies happen. Now, all of these activities are tied to cooldowns inside of the cartel.json file. And these cooldowns depend on your influence in different regions, but realistically the game tries to trigger at least one Cartel event per day. So why does it sometimes feel like nothing's happening? Well, that's because the cooldown is directly tied to your actions. The more active you are and the lower influence the Cartel has in an area, the longer it will take for an event to trigger. On top of that, a Cartel event won't trigger if you're currently wanted or if you've been arrested in the last 90 minutes. And the game can roll a dead drop robbery even if you don't have any dead drops available to steal, which just completely wastes that action. So here's the key takeaway. Whenever I talk about Cartel activities later in this video, remember, they're not scripted or guaranteed. Every time the cooldown hits 0, the game rolls the dice, checks the conditions, and only then decides what event to throw at you. Our next question has to do with how goons are spawned during the Cartel ambushes. So first off, the game makes sure that things are actually fair. Tyler added a check to make sure you'll never get jumped by armed goons before unlocking weapons yourself. So if you're still early in the game, don't worry, they won't have guns. But once weapons are unlocked, the ambush system kicks in, and here's how it works. An ambush will always spawn between 2 and 5 goons. Out of those, the game rolls for how many are armed with guns, and that number can be anywhere from 0 to 2. So sometimes you'll get lucky and there won't be a goon with a gun, even if you have those weapons unlocked. Afterwards, it rolls for how many are armed with melee weapons, which is usually between 1 and 3. And after that, the game assigns random weapons from a list. Right now that list is super short, it's just the M1911 and the knife. But since it's list based, I have a feeling Tyler is future proofing, and there's a good chance more weapons will be added later on down the line. So to sum it up, every ambush has 2 to 5 goons. In worst case scenario, 2 will have pistols, and 3 will have knives. And just for fun, here's every voice line they can say when they jump you. The next question has to do with how to prevent your dealers from being robbed. Everyone knows that if you give a dealer a weapon, it lowers the chances of them being robbed. I mean, you don't even need to give them bullets. Benji's out here pistol whipping fools. But the big question is, which weapons should you give the dealers? Every weapon gives your dealer a defensive stat boost, and according to the game files, here's the order. All the melee weapons give nothing. The revolver gives 0.7, the 1911 gives 0.8, the shotgun gives a full defensive stat boost, and so does the bomb you get from the final quest. I don't know, apparently the game thinks Molly's ready to go full kamikaze the second the Cartel shows up. But to explain it a bit more, I have this wonderful chart. With no weapon, your dealer has a 50-50 chance. It's just a coin flip. Either they get fully robbed or they manage to partially reduce the loss. Give them a weapon and those odds shift in their favor. The stronger the weapon, the better their chances. So bottom line, if you really want your dealers protected, hand them a shotgun and just don't bother with melee weapons. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but at least for now, they don't really seem to help at all. The next question is about how the Cartel dealers actually work behind the scenes. A lot of players get confused here because Cartel dealers seem kind of lazy. You almost never see them leave their houses, but there's actually a good reason for that. You see, Cartel dealers operate exactly like your own dealers. When a customer wants to buy something, the game runs through a checklist. First, it tries to connect them with their assigned dealer. If they don't have one, the customer will text you instead. But if you don't have that customer unlocked, or your relationship with them is less than 50%, then the game hands them off to a Cartel dealer instead. That's why you'll sometimes see certain NPCs, especially the ones you've ignored or treated badly, buying from cartel dealers, but the cartel only tries to deal to people in your most recently unlocked area. So if you've never seen a roaming cartel dealer in your save, the reason is simple. You rushed out as soon as you could and unlocked all the customers in that area. And now the dealers have no one left to sell to, so they're just stuck inside. Up next, we've got another cartel dealer question, and this one comes up all the time. You might have noticed that dealers step outside at exactly midnight for about a minute, and then immediately go back inside. And a lot of people think this is a bug, but technically, it's not a bug at all. It's more of just a flaw in the way that the NPC scheduling system is implemented. Here's what's really happening. Every NPC in the game runs on a schedule that tells them what to do and when to do it, but cartel dealers only have 2 entries in their schedule: Stay in Building, which is set for 24/7, and Handle Deal, which is set for midnight. So what happens is, right before midnight, the schedule manager checks their task list and goes, "Hey, you've got a deal to handle at midnight, better head outside." The dealer steps out, but the next task immediately after is Stay in Building, so they just turn right back around and walk inside again. This isn't new either. It's not a cartel update bug. It's actually been in the game the whole time. In fact, all of your dealers do the exact same thing. Benji, Molly, Brad, Jane, Wei, and Leo. They all pop out for a split second at midnight to reset their schedules. So no, it's not a bug, it's a feature. The next question is about dealers getting robbed, and whether certain dealers are more likely to get robbed than others. And to answer that, we first need to talk about how robberies actually happen. And here's the thing, they don't play out in real time. You're not going to see them. Robberies are handled entirely in the code, which means unfortunately you don't get the chance to jump in and help your dealer fight off the Benzies, which would honestly be awesome. Instead, the game just checks a list of conditions. The dealer has to be recruited, they need more than $100 of cash, they need more than 4 total items in their inventory, they have to have customers assigned, and they need to be conscious. If all of those are true, the game can roll for a robbery. But here's the catch. All dealers are treated the same. There's no hidden stat that makes Brad more unlucky than Benji or Molly. So that begs the question, why does it always feel like Brad's the only one getting his ass kicked in? And it's not because he's weaker, it's because of where he's working. By the time most players meet the cartel, they've already lowered the cartel's influence in places like Westville and Northtown. Meanwhile, downtown, the place where Brad is, usually still has pretty high influence. And that's important, because if there's no cartel influence in the area your dealer is selling, then they're not going to get robbed at all. So bottom line, no dealer is weaker than another, it just comes down to where they're slinging their dope. And if you're wondering what I'm slinging, it's hats. I just dropped my very first piece of merch, the Stay Silly hat. It's vintage style, adjustable, and every purchase helps support wildlife conservation around the world. So you can look good and do good at the same time. You can pick it up over at staysilly.shop or check the pinned comments down below. I appreciate you guys so much for all the love and support the past 6 months, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Alright, this next question is a little on the nerdy side, so stick with me here. One viewer noticed something different about the skateboard controls. He plays left-handed and said he couldn't move forward and backward the same way he used to in earlier patches. And honestly, I never would have caught this on my own, so big shout out to him. It turns out Tyler did update the vehicle system. Originally, the game just ran a super simple true or false check to see if you were pressing forwards or backwards. But in the F3 patch, Tyler swapped that out for something new called Vehicle Drive Access. And this is a pretty big deal. Instead of just checking whether or not the key is pressed down, the game now measures how much pressure you're applying, which doesn't matter at all for keyboards, but if you're driving on a console controller, just tapping the trigger will let you coast, and slamming it all the way down will give you max speed. And to me, that is a huge sign of what's coming soon. You don't add analog input like this just for keyboards. This feels like clear groundwork for a console port down the line, which is super exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, we've got a question about unlocking the Unfavorable Agreements quest. You know, the one where you meet Thomas Benzie outside Taco Tickler. And luckily, this answer's pretty straightforward, so here are all the conditions you need to meet to get that text message. Your status with the cartel has to be unknown. If you're already hostile or truced, the quest won't trigger. You need to have completed the quest We Need to Cook. You need at least 5 unlocked customers in Westville. And finally, you can't have any locked customers there either. Everyone has to know you. After you meet those requirements, just go to sleep, and you'll get the text asking to have that very awkward meeting with Thomas Benzie as soon as you wake up. Alrighty, next question. How often do dead drop robberies actually happen? So, in case you don't know, the cartel can rob your dead drops. And just like dealer robberies, these don't play out in real time. It's all handled in the background by the code, and there are only 2 conditions that matter. The dead drop has to have been sitting there for at least 6 in-game hours, and it has to contain at least 2 items that are worth more than $200 total. If both of those are true, the cartel will swoop in, clean out your stash, and just to rub it in, they leave you a nice little hate note. There are 3 different ones, and in one of them, they call you a very mean word. Which brings us to our final question. And it has to do with lowering the cartel influence and the most efficient ways to do that. There's a few methods you can use here. You can fend off an ambush for minus 75 influence. You can unlock a new customer for minus 50 influence. Or you can even spray graffiti for another minus 50 influence. But hands down, the best method has to do with what I mentioned earlier. Wait until midnight and knock out the cartel dealers to drop the influence by 50 points. And then toss them into the ocean for another 50-point drop. It's a clean minus 100 influence every single night. Here's a map with all of their spawn locations to make it even easier. And hey, if you want even more cartel tips and tricks, go check out my last video where I covered 10 big ones that make fighting the cartel an absolute breeze. And I want to say thank you all for being an amazing community. Last weekend, we raised over $4,000 for wildlife conservation across the globe, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. So thank you. Stay silly, y'all.